Om Namo Narayanaya. We are reading through the Kama Sutra, the sexy chapters. We're going to continue the chapter on the kinds of sexual union according to dimensions, force of desire or passion, and time. Now, some may ask here, if men and women are beings of the same kind and are engaged in bringing about the same results, why should they have different works to do? Vatya says that this is so because the ways of working as well as the consciousness of pleasure in men and women are different. The difference in the ways of working, by which men are the actors and women are the persons acted upon, is owing to the nature of the male and the female. Otherwise, the actor would be sometimes the person acted upon and vice versa. And from this difference in the ways of working follows the difference in the consciousness of pleasure. For a man thinks, this woman is united with me, and a woman thinks, I am united with this man. It may be said that, if the ways of working in men and women are different, why should there not be a difference even in the pleasure they feel, and which is the result of those ways? But this objection is groundless. For the person acting and the person acted upon being of different kinds, there is a reason for the difference in their ways of working. But there is no reason for any difference in the pleasure they feel, because they both naturally derive pleasure from the act they perform. On this again, some may say that when different persons are engaged in doing the same work, we find that they accomplish the same end or purpose, while on the contrary, in the case of men and women, we find that each of them accomplishes his or her own end separately, and this is inconsistent. But this is a mistake, for we find that sometimes two things are done at the same time, as for instance in the fighting of rams. Both the rams receive the shock at the same time on their heads. Again, in throwing one wood apple against another, and also in a fight or struggle of wrestlers. If it be said that in these cases the things employed are of the same kind, it is answered that even in the case of men and women, the nature of the two persons is the same. And as the difference in their ways of working arises from the difference of their conformation only, it follows that men experience the same kind of pleasure as women do. There is also a verse on the subject that follows. Men and women, being of same nature, feel the same kind of pleasure, and therefore a man should marry such a woman as will love him ever afterwards. The pleasure of men and women being thus proved to be of the same kind, it follows that, in regard to time, there are 9 kinds of sexual intercourse, in the same way as there are 9 kinds according to the force of passion. There being 9 kinds of union with regard to dimensions, force of passion and time, respectively, by making combinations of them, innumerable kinds of unions would be produced. Therefore, in each particular kind of sexual union, men should use such means as they may think suitable for the occasion. At the first time of sexual union, the passion of the male is intense, and his time is short. But in subsequent unions on the same day, the reverse of this is the case. With the female, however, it is the contrary. For the first time her passion is weak, then her time long. But on subsequent occasions on the same day, her passion is intense, and her time short, until her passion is satisfied. Now, on the different kinds of love. Men learned in the humanities are of the opinion that love is of 4 kinds. Love acquired by continual habit, love resulting from the imagination, love resulting from belief, love resulting from the perception of external objects. Love resulting from the constant and continual performance of some act is called love acquired by constant practice and habit, as for instance the love of sexual intercourse, the love of hunting, the love of drinking, the love of gambling, etc. Love, which is felt for things which are not habituated, and which proceeds entirely from ideas, is called love resulting from imagination, as for instance that love which some men and women and eunuchs feel for the parishtaka, or mouth congress, and that which is felt by all things for such things as embracing, kissing, etc. The love which is mutual on both sides, and proved to be true, when each looks upon the other as his or own very own, is called love resulting from belief by the learned. The love resulting from the perception of external objects is quite evident and well known to the world, because the pleasure which it affords is superior to the pleasure of other kinds of love, which exist only for its sake. What has been said in this chapter upon the subject of sexual union is sufficient for the learned, but for the edification of the ignorant, the same will now be treated of at length and in detail. And thus ends that chapter in the Kama Sutra.